Attention! If you or a loved one was diagnosed with Anki Over-Formaity Syndrome, you may be entitled to educational compensation. Anki Over-Formaity Syndrome, or AOFS, is a rare side effect linked to Anki overexposing its victims to formal words. Overexposure to formal or obscure words taken from novels, audiobooks, and podcasts may have put you at risk of using those words in a casual conversation, sounding exceedingly snobbish and so full of yourself. Please don't wait. View the following 5 minutes today for a free video consultation and language learning advice. AOFS patients view now. You're trying to pass the hardest test for a non-native speaker, or get as close to native proficiency as possible. In order to get there, you're reading novels, listening to audiobooks, and trying to build up your vocabulary as large as possible. Perhaps you're also using Anki, which is a spaced repetition flashcard software that can help you learn rare and formal words faster. However, an unintended side effect is that you might use those formal words in a casual conversation. This is Anki Over-Formaity Syndrome. It makes you come across as pedantic, trying too hard, and sounding braggy. But what's wrong with speaking too formally? Native speakers will still understand you, and if anything, they might be even more impressed with your language abilities, right? Well, I like to think of people like electricity. They naturally find the path of least resistance from point A to point B, and subconsciously try to express an idea in the least formal way. The same thing goes for listening. The sentence that takes the least effort to understand is the one that impacts them the most. If you use formality where it's not necessary, or use words that people never use, it puts distance between you and native speakers. In informal situations, you can't speak a language too well, and you won't connect with them as well as you could have. Okay, time for a quiz. Here's 4 words expressing the same idea. Which one of these is the least formal? Okay, time's up. Now it's pretty obvious that say is the least formal out of all of these, but how did you know that? A big reason natives know if a word is formal or informal has to do with the frequency in which it appears in the language. A great way of visualizing this is a frequency list, which is a list of every word in the language sorted by commonality. The more common the word, the higher up it is. The rarer and probably more formal the word is, the lower down it is. In order to discern how formal a word is, your goal is to create a mental frequency list as close to that of a native speaker. Create this mental frequency list by memorizing words, but of course it does take multiple attempts to memorize information. Let's say, by only looking up the word on the spot, it takes 5 occurrences over an entire year to successfully learn that word. An entire year though? Instead, you could use Anki to reduce that time, so you could do 5 occurrences in just a month. For majority of the time, Anki makes the word appear more often than it really does in real life, and this is where your internal frequency list gets messed up. A less common word may surpass a more frequent synonym. You say formal words in informal situations, and it's all Anki's fault. Wait a minute. Anki? Even if you didn't use Anki and spent your time in novels and audiobooks, you would still speak a little bit formally, albeit less. Maybe Anki isn't the problem here, but rather it's the topic in which you choose to immerse in, and how you learn words in that domain. If you have been diagnosed with Anki Over-Formaity Syndrome and are seeking educational compensation, then how can you fix your speech so that you sound less formal? Use Anki less. When you come across a new word, don't put it in Anki, but instead try to remember it right then and there on the spot. Every second you spend in Anki is a second that you could be using to consume the language in its raw form instead. If you're spending a lot of time in audiobooks or novels, you'll still learn those words without Anki simply by spending time in the domain, even though it might take you a little bit longer. Native writing corrections. Write a paragraph about a topic, then have a native speaker correct your mistakes. With writing, you have plenty of time to think about what vocabulary you wish to use. Conversely, it's a great way of making your speech sound more natural as well. I've done this for around 10 months in Spanish and have greatly improved my writing skills. On Reddit, there's a couple of subreddits that focus on this idea, which is where I go. Context. I highly recommend making flashcards yourself and not using a pre-made deck. When you make your card, put your sentence in which you found it on the backside, so that this will help you to remember in which context it was used in. If you know a formal word, but have also heard it in a TV show, then that gives you more insight into whether you should really say it or not. Synonyms. If you're even at the point where you're using words that natives don't know or speaking too formally, then monolingual definitions will not be a problem for you if you're not using them already. A monolingual definition is a definition defined in the language itself and not in your native language. Definitions or synonyms are meant to be more easy to understand than the word itself, so when in doubt, just use a synonym instead. That's all for this video, and who knows, maybe I'm wrong about this topic. Maybe speaking too formally is all relative, and just getting to that point at all is just reaching the level of a college-educated native speaker. If you've ever had an experience where you used a word that a native speaker didn't know, or they thought it was too formal, then I'd love to hear your experiences down in the comment section below. Like it if you liked it, and tell me in the comment section if you disliked it. Also follow my social media in the description for interesting findings on my language learning, as well as information on when new videos come out. See you guys in the next video. Create this mental frequency list by memorizing words, but But of course it does take multiple attempts to Okay, time for a quiz. Here's 4 words every second. Every 60 seconds, minute after it passes. But, oh, it's taking too long. It could be that speaking to, oh, I bit my tongue.